together in a book by my dear father-in-law. The book's called Siach HaSadeh, the discussion of the field, which is the acronym of my dear father, Rabbi Horowitz. The man was accompanied by a lot of miracles, as you know. General miracles and private miracles. The most famous ones are written in the text, meaning that if you took more than you're supposed to take per family member, or you took less than you're supposed to take, when you brought it back to your tent, what happened? Everything worked out. Not more, not less. You found always the sum total of measures per capita inside your house. Not more, not less, as it says in verse 18. On Yom Shishi, another miracle would happen. We would go out to collect the man. And then it says, as you see in verse 26, Ve'chinu et asher yaviu. Okay? We prepared what they brought, and we found that we had a double measure on Yom Shishi. Okay? In Shemot chapter, in our chapter 16. Whereas on Shabbat, if anyone went outside the camp to collect on the Yom Shabbat, Lo Yebo, it's not going to be there, God promises. These are miracles happening each of the 6 days it's coming down, not on the 7th. Now, you wanted to take a little of your portion, put it in the fridge for tomorrow. Okay? Anyone that wanted to reduce the amount of his eating during the day, in order to have leftovers for another day, in opposition to the instructions of Moshe, in verse 19, what does Moshe warn us? Ish, al yoter mimenu ad boker. Don't leave more for the next morning. When he came back the next morning to take what he put aside, what did he find? What are those worms doing in my man? It went bad. It spoiled. It became wormy. There was ovesh. How do you say ovesh? What?
Fungus, mold.
Fungus, moldy.
If you take the worms out, it's...
You taste it. I'm not going to eat it.
No, I'm not saying that I would eat it or I would give it to someone else to eat. But if you're, if you're on an island, then you...
We're not on an island. God tells us through Moshe Rabbeinu, don't leave over leftovers. Now, the word, in light of these miracles, Chazal are asking, where in the world did Bnei Yisrael get the word man? So one meaning is their question. In man is an Egyptian word for mazeh. What is this? So they adopted the Egyptian word man for the word mazeh. That was in Egypt. That's one understanding. Or another meaning from the word man, that it's taken out from the word mana, a measure of food. Mana. I thought it's a manat falafel? Okay. Well, after sure. Okay? He's always a yes man, always answering yes, good. Okay? A mana, from the word, a portion. Okay? And therefore we see that even in Daniel, Vayaman lehem melech. So certainly there's a basis to understanding man. What is it? Because they never saw it before. Or it's a certain portion. Yes, sir?
What's the connection with man and manot?
It's short from the word mana.
So it's the plural. So when we make a manot for Purim.
Manot is plural, that's correct. Gentlemen, now let's relate to the subject of economic welfare. We often think that in order to economically survive, everything is based upon our efforts, right? Don't we remember learning in the book of Bereshit that a man will have to sweat in order to eat bread, and you have to get up early in the morning in order to go collect? Regarding the man, when is the time for collecting? Have to do it in the morning. Why? Because if it stays out there in the sun, v'cham hashemesh v'namas, the sun will heat it, and what will happen to it? It'll melt. So that's a very big miraculous thing that you have to get up early. Even though God's giving you a bracha, but you have to make the effort to get the bracha. You have to make the effort to get out there early in the morning to accept the bracha. Otherwise, it will melt and it won't be edible. You won't be able to use it and eat it. Okay? So too, when you're married and have a family and you have to support your wife, you have to support your children, you have to make effort. You can't say, I'm going to sit, twiddle my thumbs, and man's going to come down. You have to get up early in the morning, take care of the kids, make breakfast, sandwiches, get them out to the schools, Talmud Torah, and this and that. Certainly, the basis of a blessing is our efforts. Not only our efforts, but our efforts we have to make. Okay? But we have to know at the same time, how much you're going to make is not dependent upon greater efforts or less efforts. That's dependent upon Hashem's blessing. Hashem, you see the guy sitting next to me? He says after eating bread, Hazan et ha'olam kulo b'tova. We believe that God is providing everyone according to their needs. Now, it doesn't mean, did Chazal tell us that the tzaddikim of the nation, if you become more righteous, maybe you get more bracha. It could be. And if you're less righteous, you may get less bracha. The Talmud says regarding the man, that the greater righteous of the Jewish people, you know where they found their man? At the doorstep, at the entrance to their tents. Whereas the mediocre Jews, where did they find? At the edge, by the camp. Whereas the wicked people had to go on a hike in the desert, outside the camp to find it. What do we learn from here? That the merits of a person, according to his behavior, according to his speech, his manners, the manners of God, that could decide the amount of, or the quality of parnasa based on your efforts. So yes, there's a bracha. Yes, we have to make efforts, and we can get a bracha based upon our efforts. But of course, everyone has to make an effort, but we can't say it's not going to happen to me and I'm going to rely on miracles. For our parnasa, we don't rely on miracles. Just Shabbat. We don't work. We don't create. We don't invest. On Shabbat Kodesh, because it's the source of bracha, as my father-in-law explains, as we see in Lechad Dodi, that the source of blessing is Shabbat itself. And therefore, there's no need to work on Shabbat. But you will get enough on Yom Shishi to provide for Shabbat. There were many Jews that thought mistakenly, how can I survive without working 7 days a week? And they would desecrate the Shabbat and thinking they're going to get more parnasa. In the end, they got less parnasa. Many stories. Chafetz Chaim has written about him and his stories. And I want to end with the following matter, a very interesting dialogue between Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his students, as it's told to us in Masechet Yoma Ayin Vav. The students of Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai asked him, why is it that the man didn't come down just once a year? Why did it have to come down every day? Somebody got with a big storage, with a big storage, refrigeration and everything. Why did it have to come down every day? Rashbi answered the students and said the following: I want to tell you a mashal. I want to tell you a mashal. So what is it compared to? It's compared to a king. And a king has his only son. Okay? And you know what? The king decides to give a budget for his son once a year. And as a result, the son would only come to meet his father on the day of the budget, the day that the father is giving out food or money for the son to buy food. What did the king decide then to do? He decided to give his son an allowance every day. You come every day, you get a few shekels. And what happened? As a result, each and every day the son came to visit his father. So too here the Jewish people. There are fathers that have 4 or 5 children and are saying, what, I'm not going to have food coming down for me every day? No. God is going to bring food down for you and your family every day in order that we're going to be connected together. We're showing total dependence, connection to God. So we can summarize and say that this man that's coming down is part of a series of education of God bringing us closer to Him, realizing how Parnasah works, how it's based upon our midot and our Torah and our mitzvot and the way we're doing and being dependent upon God. Even if you have a profession and you have this and you have that, that's not the deciding point. Deciding point is how you're reflecting Hashem, how you're connected to Hashem. And remember that your bracha comes from God. He may want you to work very hard for a little salary for 10, 20, 30 years, and then maybe open up the doors and give you better parnasah. He's testing us all the time. B'ezrat Hashem, shall we go forward and stand by all our tests and come out happy. Amen. Ken Yiratzah.